My name is Emily. Welcome to my channel, Emily A to Z. It is January 1st. Exactly 4 o'clock on January 1st, and I haven't read anything yet today. So it's time. It's time to get started. And for this very first video of 2026, I am partaking in TBRathon, which is run by Leandra, the TBR Zero. I will drop her in my description below because I am attempting to do her year-long version of TBRathon. So get ready for monthly videos of me attempting the TBRathon. And not just one, I'm attempting all 3. I am going to attempt to do Lost in the Library, TBR Explorer, and Map of Stories, but my own version. I'm also going to try and do them only on the first weekend of every month, which is when she's running her sprints and her event is when she has them scheduled. So wish me luck, but don't worry because I'm only going to be reading one book for each of the TBR games each month. So that's why I think it could be doable for me to do these over the course of a weekend. I originally had planned for it to just be the Friday, Saturday, Sunday of the first month of the TBRathon. However, Miss Leandra threw me for a loop because she did reading sprints today to kick off TBRathon, and I went, you know what? Okay, if she's doing it early, I can do it early. So I'm starting my TBRathon. But what am I doing? What am I reading? Let's discuss the plans. First, for the board game Lost in the Library. I'm going to scooch. I am starting in the middle grade fiction room because I would like to continue reading the Whispering Pines series. Book number 2 is called Infestation. I don't have a physical copy of this. This is what the book looks like. So that's what I'm reading. We'll go over that in a little bit. But we are continuing on the story that we had in book 1. Whispering Pines was book 1. We are following Caden and Ray. Ray's father vanished, and she's trying to figure out why. She thinks he uncovered something in the government program that he works for. And Caden, his family is magical. His brother went missing, but Caden knows more about his brother's disappearance than he wants to share. His family is the resident ghost hunters kind of thing in their small town where weird stuff happens. A bunch of things happened in book 1. We are continuing the story in book 2. And I need to read book 2. So that's why I'm starting in the middle grade fiction room. Next month, I'm not going to do it now, but next month I will roll a die, a 6-sided die one time, and whatever I land on, it will be whatever I read for February. And I'm going to do that for the following months. I'm just going to roll once. I'm trying to get all the way around the board and hit all of the rooms, but I'm just going to roll one time each month, one book for this game. Then for the Map of Stories, I'm just going to follow along the map in the prescribed order that she's already come up with, and I'm just going to follow it down. Now, so each location is a different theme or a different genre or fiction age. So January is the Old Growth Forest, which is historical fiction, and it has 3 different challenges for it, plus it's a historical fiction with these things. I'm going to attempt to find a book that matches all of the parameters each and every month. So for January, I want a historical book, a historical fiction book with a historical setting that has at least 2 people on the cover and is a booktuber recommendation. So I am going with Take My Hand by Dolan Perkins Valdez. Now, I did mention this at the end of December 2025. This was the December pick for my local library's reading challenge. Their December genre was a historical fiction. I waited to read this because I've heard about it. This has been recommended by a couple different booktubers. So this is my pick. Searing and compassionate new novel about a young Black nurse's shocking discovery and burning quest for justice in post-segregation Alabama, Montgomery, Alabama, 1973. Then, last but not least, for the TBR Explorer, this one is the only one that I'm doing a little differently. So I went through the TBR Explorer prompts and I have selected 12, one for each month of the year. The 12 that I was most intrigued by. And then I took all of those and I put them in a spinner wheel. And then I spun the wheel. So I'm letting the spinner wheel decide my fate, and we got a grim setting, which is to read a book with a black cover, and I have chosen, and it seems fitting, this is The Ghost Variations. This is 100, in this tiny volume, this is 100 ghost stories by Kevin Brockmeyer, so they're very tiny, and this is all just different new ways of looking at who we are and what matters to us, exploring how mysterious, sad, strange, and comical it is to be alive, or as it happens, not to be. So it's just 100 different ghost stories? Yeah, let's do it. I'm gonna start with this today. I have an audiobook of Infestation, and I have an audiobook of this so I can listen to it at work, but I want to sit down and read, so we're gonna start with TBR Explorer, my grim setting. Let's go. New filming location, my couch, which I've been on before, but I have a new tripod thanks to my really, really good friend, Nikki, who is the macabre librarian. I will always link her down below. Anyways, she's lovely. I love her to death. She gave me this tripod. And so now I get to sit in my living room or other places in my house and film instead of being on my bedroom floor constantly. So that's exciting, which means I now get to be here. I can be lazy on my couch with you. I can also take you wherever I want, and this expands. I can bring it up taller, which I eventually will, but I'm feeling very like Gavin-esque. I want to film on my tripod me lazing on my couch with my pets reading, because he does that a lot. He does like B-roll footage, and I just want to do that too. I want to be cool like him. So I have my couch, I have a pet, I have another pet, I even have another pet over there. I've got all my pets, and it is 4 p.m., a little after 4 p.m. on Saturday the 3rd. I'm here to you because I did finish a book yesterday, and I want to talk about it whilst I have time, because I'm also on sprints. So while I have time, I went to film a little update, because I'm doing her TBRathon meta whatever, but I also want to fill you in on my reading. So sorry, Ken Duty and Washington, you're gonna get covered. But I did finish Infestation yesterday, which is book 2 in the Whispering Pines quartet, written by sister duo Heidi Lang and Katie Bartkowski. They write together sometimes, but also separately. It is a fantasy horror middle grade series. We are following Ray and Caden, and yes, I might be reading it because it features a kid named Caden, and that is my son's name. It's fine. But Ray is new to the town of Whispering Pines. It's this like sleepy town in Connecticut that is also just weird. Unnatural things occur. It's spooky. It's commonplace that they're just like, oh, sinkholes open up on the school grounds and you can't wear red because the squirrels don't like it. But that's just commonplace in this town. But Ray and her family are new after her dad, who was working for the government, mysteriously vanished. And this happened prior to the events of book 1. Her dad goes missing, and a story was put out that their dad just like left, and Ray doesn't believe that. She thinks that her dad was like abducted by the government because he uncovered a secret that they don't want out. Her mom packed them up, moved them across the country to Connecticut, and now they're starting over in this town of Whispering Pines. Caden is her next door neighbor, and he's also the like weird kid in town because his family are like the resident ghost hunters of this town. They are like exorcists, ghost hunters. And so everyone's like keeping secrets. Ray's secret is that her dad was abducted by the government. She thinks because he uncovered like an alien and wasn't supposed to. Caden is keeping secret that his family are actually magic. His mom has powers, his brother has powers, he has powers, his dad doesn't, but they all have powers. Caden is able to feel the emotions of people around him. He can clearly identify what they're feeling. And in book 2, it starts to kind of explore that he maybe has more than that. Like, he might have even more power, and he's kind of testing the waters, and there are a couple places where he thinks maybe he can also influence how others are feeling. But he's a good kid. He doesn't do anything maliciously. And he is kind of the foil to his older brother. His older brother had gone missing as well. We don't know, but Caden knows what's going on. And I can't, like, there's so many different elements. I don't want to spoil anything. But let's just say Aiden is back in book 2. And he is our, like, antagonist to Caden. While Caden is good and tender-hearted, which I think goes along with feeling everyone's emotions, Aiden is consumed with the thought of power and having power and getting even more power and being just this formidable person kind of thing. And so they're very separate. Aiden wants everything and Caden almost wants nothing. Ray and her sister Ava are kind of similar in that sense, where like Ray is very bold and she's like gonna stop at nothing, but she's outspoken and reckless because she's just so determined to figure out what happened to her dad and find her dad, while her older sister Ava is a little bit more quiet. She's a little bit more reserved. She is withdrawn. She also wants to know what's going on with her dad, but she's not going to make waves. She is kind of trying to like dig behind the scenes and do her own thing. So it is middle grade, so it is a little campy at times. It is, I don't want to say easy, but there are definitely moments where I was like, okay, it was convenient. There were some convenient plot devices, because obviously we can't really risk our main characters all that much, and we have to have them for the story to continue. So whilst the kids are put in dangerous situations, they are always fine at the end of the day. There is always a maybe not a happily ever after, but definitely like they save the day. I've seen some reviews where people say it's kind of Stranger Things-esque, and I get that because these did come out early 2020s, like 2021, 2022, that kind of time frame. So like, yes, there is that like Stranger Things, small town, spooky, weird vibes going on. The big baddie of the town is this like energy company called like Green On that is run by this mysterious and incredibly handsome dude named Patrick, which is hilarious because that's my brother-in-law's name. So I'm just picturing my brother-in-law and that's not at all like how he's described, but I can't not visualize my brother-in-law. So we have Patrick, and he's this enigmatic founder of this like company who also potentially worked for the CIA. It's all convoluted, so of course there's just things that like, it's very intriguing and you're going, what's going on here? We know they're the big baddies ultimately, that Green On is behind everything, and they're using this front of being like an energy company as like, what we do is for the betterment of the town, but really they're digging into things, they're uncovering things, maybe even like devising things in their underground laboratories. And in book 2, Ray takes on an internship for middle schoolers with Green On, along with some of her other classmates. So we see her start to get into that world a little bit. She's trying to work at things from the inside. We get more of her friendship with other school classmates, Vivian and Alyssa. It was just a fun time. It was very easy to listen to, especially at like 2.5 speed. You don't have to really pay attention that hard. Obviously there are details, and there were things that they were hinting at where I was like, oh, that character is gonna be this. This is what's gonna happen next. They lead you down a certain path, and it's not hard to figure out where that path is going to take you, but it was still a good ride. So all in all, I gave it a 3.5. I did listen to it in its entirety yesterday, but I also did work the entire workday yesterday, so that was great. Today, during these sprints, and hopefully I would love to finish this book tonight. This is The Ghost Variations by Kevin Brockmeyer. I mentioned that I had already started this on Thursday, and it's not that it's slow going or anything like that. It's kind of hard to explain what this is, because this is just 100, I consider them like micro stories. So this is an anthology of 100 micro ghost stories. It's weird. It is very literary. It's marked as horror, and I get it that it's marked as horror because it does have to do with ghosts and paranormal, but it's not that every single story features a ghost. It also is highlighting things that haunt us, that haunt humans as a whole, or it explores those areas of life that you can be haunted by the metaphysical, sure, but you could also be haunted by your regrets or haunted by an action, or this really delves into playing with aspects of time and just concepts as a whole. There are like multiple sections in here, and each section is themed. So like ghosts, the first section is ghosts and memory. So then those first 6 micro stories are just explorations of ultimately like memory and how our memory can haunt us, or our lack of a memory can haunt us. So he plays around with these various concepts of memory, fortune, and not just like money, but also like luck, nature, time, speculation, vision, the other senses, belief, love and friendship, family, words and numbers. I am currently in the ghosts and belief section. I thought maybe they were going to be kind of interconnected, but now I've realized they're definitely not. They're like a page each. So it's just like quick little snapshots. And some of them have been forgettable, of course, but there have been a couple that have really stuck with me and have given me like a moment of pause and gone, oh wow, like that is a powerful way of looking at things. And one in particular, and I'll share it at a different time in a little bit, but it's called Bouquet, and that was in like the ghosts and other senses, and that had to do with like the sense of smell and like scent. I like teared up a little bit reading this like page-and-a-half short story in bed last night, and then I stopped and like read the entire thing out loud to my husband because it takes like a minute and a half. So I might share that story. So yeah, I'm gonna get back into reading this. There's about 40 minutes of the sprint, so yeah, I think I'm gonna jump into this now. Sound good? Sound good. I'll catch you shortly.
Hey, I thought while you're sprinting with me, or I'm sprinting, as you can see, I would share with you that story that I keep mentioning that I am just obsessed with. This is story number 54. It's called Bouquet, from the book that I am currently reading on screen. She knew that when he died, his voice would die along with him, yet somehow she had failed to recognize that his scent would die too. Oh, it lingered for a few months in the clothes he left behind, but then it shrank away, and she had yet another extinction to mourn. One afternoon, though, as she stood in the kitchen unbagging the groceries, it reappeared, the unmistakable incense of his body, earthy and sweet, like the flat spice of modeling clay. It rose up powerfully around her. Whoom! Like that. For an instant, before the facts of her life overtook her, she expected to see him fossicking about in the cabinets, again, for a jar of peanuts or a bag of chips. Foolishness. So much foolishness. She turned back to the refrigerator, transferring the last of the eggs to the egg cradle. That night, though, as she lay drifting off to sleep, she detected his fragrance once again. In her delirium she was convinced that he was bending his limbs into their bed, trying to arrange himself under the covers without disturbing her. But her awareness was no more than the thinnest haze, and soon not even that, and when she woke the next day she remembered only a small tickle of scent in her nose and a brief feeling of familiar warmth. In the morning it happened twice more, first while she was checking the news on her laptop, and then while she was brushing her teeth. And then once more a couple of hours later, when she went to the door to sign for a package. Over the next few days, the same dense mixture of aromas found her again and again. Time after time, in one room or another, something in the air would shift, and a great exhalation of fragrance would engulf her. She concluded that it was his ghost. He couldn't talk to her, couldn't make himself visible, but from the other side of death he could offer his bouquet of chemicals, that scent which had accompanied him through 100,000 doors, into a lifetime of business meetings and dinner parties. Each burst of it a sign that he still existed, and not only existed, but existed nearby. She began to resent the wool musk of the carpet, the sweet leather smell of the couch. To ignore them took the dedication of a penitent. Ignore them, though, she did. He had found a way to communicate with her, and she wanted to communicate with him in return. When he was alive, he used to tuck his face into the dip where her neck met her collarbone, breathing in the jasmine and vanilla of her perfume, the bergamot of her body lotion, the bell pepper tang of her sweat. The solution seemed obvious. The next time she noticed his presence, she stood in front of the box fan and let it carry her aroma into the air. For the next 11 years, until she died and he took her away, that was how they spoke to each other. Her scent and his scent, making the scent of them together. I think that one is so beautiful, and it's just really stuck with me. Thanks for listening.
It's Sunday, and I am not as far along as I really wanted to be during this first weekend of TBRathon, and that's okay. I will explain. My goal was really a book a day, which is kind of pushing it for me, but I really figured I worked all day Friday. I would listen to my audiobook at work, which I did, and I did finish that Friday. I didn't have to, but I did physically read The Ghost Variations, and I started that Thursday, and it took me until today to finish it. I think overall, I'm going to give this a 3. I really liked what he did here. It is very literary. It is very deep. And even though each story is only a page or 2 most, it is deep. It is complex. It does make you really think about ghosts and the implications of what it means to be a ghost or to haunt things or be haunted. And I enjoyed that exploration of the human psyche and the human condition. There were definitely some that I really, really enjoyed. After I talked to you yesterday, I did read one though about a man who completes himself in a pleasurable way, and then his sperm haunts him. So that was weird. So not everything in this book was deep and complex and thought-provoking. Some of it was really silly. The very first story is about a girl who, after she died, she went back to a specific location and is reliving one specific moment in her life that she viewed as embarrassing, and she's living it over and over and over again, but changing it ever so slightly to try and perfect that embarrassing moment to make it better. So not all of them were deep, and some of them were really ridiculous, but my favorite 100% that I still am thinking about is the short story Bouquet in this. And yeah, it is gorgeous. So I can't stop thinking about it. So yeah, this is a 3. Which means I have one more book to read. But why is it so late on Sunday? Well, so when I was at work Friday, my husband took Caden snowboarding, which is totally great. Unfortunately, Caden fell while he was snowboarding, and he fell backwards, and he put his hands out behind him to catch himself when he fell. And when he did that, he injured his left wrist. And it was still really bothering him yesterday, so I got up with him. He said it was better, but then was until I use it or until I move it. And so then I went, okay, we gotta go to the doctor. And fortunately where we live, we have an orthopedic urgent care specifically, so we took him there. They did x-rays. It is not broken, but he does have a pretty nasty sprain in his left wrist, so he is now in a brace for the next 10 days or so. But we spent a lot of time at the doctor's office, and then we went to lunch, and then by the time we got back, I did try and read, but the day is spent, there were things that I had to do around the house, and you know, I am a mom, and I do work, and I have responsibilities, I have pets, so I don't always get to read as much as I want to, and that is a-okay. But my plan for the rest of today is to work on Take My Hand by Dolan Perkins Valdez. This is my historical fiction pick. I also do have the audiobook for this, so I do think I'm gonna do some immersive reading. I tend to read faster when it's immersive as well. You know, I can put the audiobook on and like jump up the speed because I physically read faster than like the narrator. So that's always enjoyable. Not that I'm like trying to speed through it, but I do want to read a lot of this today if possible, so I can wrap this video up and give you all of my stats and figures and fun stuff at the end of it. So I'm gonna go grab a quick bite to eat since it is lunchtime and start this book, and I'll check in soon. I'm just trying to film my outro, and these two won't leave me alone. That's okay. It is officially Monday, January 5th, meaning that the first weekend of TBRathon has ended. Now, TBRathon is going to last all year long. This is a rough schedule that Leandra has provided for us of like how the events are going to go. So each weekend, the first weekend of each month is supposed to have like sprints, or it's like the official like weekend. And in the future, I am aiming that every first weekend of the month is when I participate in my TBRathon books. Why did you lick my binder? Anyways, so updates, and we'll wrap this up. I read in its entirety yesterday Take My Hand by Dolan Perkins Valdez. This book, I'm gonna say right now, 5 stars. This is a 5-star read. My first 5-star of 2026, and just, how do I talk about this book? This takes place in Montgomery, Alabama in 1973. And we are following our main character, Sybil, who is a brand new nurse. She is fresh out of nursing school. She gets a job working for like a government-funded family planning clinic in Montgomery. Besides having her normal charges at the clinic where it's a rotation, she is also assigned her own like case. She has a specific like set of patients that she has to make house calls for. In her case, her patients are 2 little girls, ages 11 and 13, India and Erica, who are sisters. And she has been told, hey, your job is to go out and do like a home visit and to give these girls the Depo-Provera birth control shot. And at first she's like, okay. And then she gets out there and she sees the squalor and the living conditions that these 2 girls are living in with just their dad and their grandmother as their guardians. Their mom has died and their family is doing the best that they can. And she immediately clocks that this isn't right, that this is not okay. Sybil has grown up with some privilege afforded to her. Her grandfather was a doctor. Her dad is a doctor who owns his own practice in Montgomery at this time. She was able to go to nursing school. Her dad really wants her to go on to become a doctor and like come work at the family practice with him. So she has grown up with this sense of privilege, and coming into this environment and seeing these girls living in just absolute squalor sends her kind of in a tailspin. And she starts to question what she's doing and if what she's doing is right. she very quickly decides that it is not right for her to be giving these two young girls this birth control shot for a multiple of reasons. Like, one, the youngest hasn't even started her period yet, so why is she on birth control? That makes no sense. And then two, the Depo-Provera shot is still kind of in its like early phases at this point in time. It's not approved by the FDA, and if anything, clinical trials in animals have shown that it's actually causing cancer in animals, and they don't know what the long-term effects are going to be on women and children in the future. And it is a very interesting dynamic if we look at, do you do what you're told because you're told it's for the good of everyone, for the betterment of people, or do you push back against it? And we watch as Sybil starts to push back against this. She starts trusting her own instincts and those of the people she's friends with around her in her life who are offering her feedback of like, hey, yeah, maybe you should question this. Look into this. How does this make you feel? And unfortunately, something horrible does happen to these two little girls, and it completely breaks Sybil and breaks her understanding of what her true job is as a healthcare provider. There are lots of discussions about taking over, about how she's only trying to help, but are you actually helping or are you harming? Is your version of help truly help, or is it going to cause harm? Is your way better than someone else's way? There's lots of discussions about that, and the discussions of government interference in day-to-day life, and obviously systemic racism and the challenges that Black people face just because they were Black. And it is so, it's infuriating and powerfully written. This book, I stopped multiple times to discuss the content of this with my husband, who is not a reader, but he does enjoy like historical things. And so I was talking about it. We're just talking about the political climate of what the 70s would have been like, who was in office, what was going on, what were the key like race relation issues happening during this time. And we ended up having a really good conversation about it. He didn't know about certain things that I did know about, like the Tuskegee syphilis experiment. My husband had no idea that had been a thing, and so we talked about that. This story is loosely based off of a true event. And I had that feeling when I was reading it, where I was like, this is too much for it to be fiction. Like it's hitting too close to home for this to be entirely fiction. And yes, in the author's note, she does say, it is a work of fiction loosely inspired by the real-life case of Ralph versus Weinberger that happened in June of 1973 in Montgomery, Alabama. And it did have to do with federal funded healthcare agencies and decisions that were being made. This case is considered a pivotal moment in the history of reproductive injustice, as it brought to light the thousands of poor women of color across the country who had had certain medical procedures given to them or done to them within the confines of this federal funded programs without like their consent or their true understanding of what was happening to them. And it's wild, just the things that people are capable of, and it is upsetting to me. And it did make me feel a lot. It made me think a lot. I did cry at the end of this, and not necessarily because it hurt or was like heartbreaking, like it was those things, but it was also just so raw and real. Yeah, take my hand. 5 stars. It's gonna hurt, but like I do recommend this. I really do. I think this is fantastic, and I'm really glad that I read this. And with that, TBRathon has come to an end, which is very exciting. I did have a lot of fun. I was able to read 3 whole books, and I even got a 5-star out of it. So I count this as a win. It was very successful. And the fun news is I also got to, I get to consider myself a winner of the badges. Part of the fun is that Leandra has created badges for this whole like game kind of thing. And so, especially for like map of stories, there are gold badges, silver badges, rose gold badges, and then like a monthly badge that you get for participating. So like you get a gold badge if you complete all 3 prompts for a location. So for me, the historical setting, person on the 1+ person on the cover, booktuber recommendations, and the location requirement. So a historical fiction that had all 3 of those, which I did. To get the silver badge, you had to just complete all 3 of the prompts for our location without it necessarily, so it needed to be a historical setting, a person on 1+ person, booktuber, but it didn't necessarily have to be a historical fiction novel, but I did, so I did that. And then to get the rose gold badge, you just had to complete 1 prompt, which I did. So I do also technically get like the rose gold badge. And then there's like a monthly specific one. So for January, it looks like this, and it was just to be active some way for the weekend. So like participate in the sprint, read a book for a location. If you're in their Discord, like be active in the Discord. And I mean, I joined the sprints. I tried to be at all 3 sprints at some point. I did catch at least 1 live. My cat just attacked our tree. I did catch 1 live, so I am counting that as participating. Like, even though I did go back and watch them like afterwards, I'm only gonna give myself the monthly one if I manage to catch a live sprint. So that's gonna be a layer of difficulty, and I am a completionist, so I want all of them, but we'll see if I can actually pull that off. And then, oh, I guess technically I do get the top traverser badge, which is a rose badge. I'm gonna put that over here. I do get that because I will get that because this says to earn it is to participate in the month-long event in January 2026. And I mean, I'm technically done with TBR for like the entire month of January, but I'm giving myself that because I'm participating in it. And I'm still gonna watch if she hosts sprints. I'm still gonna be active because I had a good time. I really like her a lot. She's very like chill and calming. She's a librarian, or she works at a library like I do. So I feel this weird sense of connection. She has no idea who I am, but like I'm having a great time. And as usual, if you're interested in the TBRathon, I will drop all of the links down in my description so that you can check out her channel. I'll have her linked somewhere so that you can also go explore. It's just, yeah, this is fun. Thanks for being here. What a way to kick off 2026. We're back. Let's get into it. I'll see you all very, very soon. Be easy with your hearts.